How is everybody? Welcome to Shake and Bake Racing. Today we'll be driving this beautiful car, the Toyota Sprinter. Absolutely love this car. It's like an everyday driver that you could actually see in real life. It's not that fast and it don't handle that great, nor does it look like the inside of it was made for luxury. However, it is something that I think that most people could afford to drive. So I figured, why not start off the hot lap of Nurburgring with this car. Very basic. It looks like the base model that came out in whatever year this car was made. It doesn't handle great, like I said. The back end likes to come out very easily. Every time you step on the brakes, it wants to slide. It doesn't. It's not that great of a car. But one thing that is great is the Nurburgring. Absolutely love this track. One thing I want to do before I die is go around the Nurburgring. And the reason for that is just the history of the Nurburgring. I watched a documentary on Graham Hill not too long ago and absolutely found it astonishing that the cars they drove back then were not like the cars today, and the track wasn't the same. They didn't have barriers. The trees on your left and right, they was just trees. If you was to swerve or lose control of the car in any way, you was hitting a tree and you was gonna die. A lot of times they didn't have proper racing gear that racers have today. They didn't have the neck braces. They didn't have great helmets. They didn't have flame retardant suits. They was just out there in just their clothes that they wore and maybe a small little helmet, not much. But what I found crazy was that they'd be going all out in these cars that had very little downforce, and it's just amazing that the sport called on with all the crazy things that they used to have to go through. I also watched a documentary on Shelby, the Mustang man, and I was watching him race, and they started naming how many people died, and it's just crazy to me that even though that so many racers died back then, that the sport continued, which is very, very, very happy that we have sim racing, because we don't have to risk our lives to get enjoyment. Is it the same amount of enjoyment? No, but we're not about to die because we're sitting in our chairs just having fun and still experiencing racing, but in a controlled environment. So at least you're not having an anxiety attack because you out hit a tree going 150. If you saw all the practice laps I took before actually recording this one, I would have been dead like a lot. It's this car, every time you get anywhere near the brakes or turn in, it just wants to, the back end wants to go, which is not surprising since it's just a road car and not really set up for a track. However, I actually had a lot of fun driving it because it looks like something that could be in my backyard. So going through these corners and straights, like I could feel me being there, broke, poor, and in a horrible car. But I digress. Going over the bridge now. One thing I do like about this car is the amount of detail that Gran Turismo put on the inside of this car, because it looks like the inside of a car. I usually don't race in the driver's seat. I usually use the chase cam just because I can see where the weight of the car is, and when I'm recording videos, it gives the viewers a little bit more of a way to gauge what I'm doing and see where the weight of the car is. But since I'm just doing hot laps just to have a little bit of fun, I figured I'd do it in this view just so there's a little bit of variety in my camera angles. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of equipment right now, so I'm just using a PlayStation to record everything, so I'm very limited in what I can do. But hopefully you enjoy my content. And coming down this straight here, well, not down, but rather up, as you can see, this car has very little torque and very little horsepower, so it's staying at a very slow pace. And this corner right here, I try to take flat out the first few times, and once I got turned in, that back end would just slide all the way out. So every time you let off the gas in this car, it takes a long time for you to get back up to that speed. And when you come to braking it, you have to brake a little bit earlier and be a little gentler with the brakes because of how the car handles under braking. The Toyota Sprinter is a very short wheelbase car, so the shorter wheelbase is a little bit less stability in the car when turning and doing certain things, so it's not exactly a car you would want to take around Nurburgring. But I figured this would be a great place to start. It is one of the worst cars in my my garage in Gran Turismo, so I figured I'd go from worst to some of the best cars and just have a little bit of fun with it. But the one great thing about this car, when going around these corners, you don't have to downshift and you don't have to worry about going too fast, because it's not going to get to the speed where you actually have to worry a lot, which would be very reassuring in real life. You know, you wouldn't have to worry if you was going too fast around this corner, because it's not going to be going the speed where you'll go off of it. But as I was saying before, I really want to go around Nurburgring one day, and I love watching videos of people drive around it. I was watching a vlog on someone who went around it, and you could just see it was his first time, you could just see the emotion of going around it. And it's just because all the history and just how much the Nurburgring means to racers and just car owners that want to just experience a track filled with history. And I honestly think there's no better place than the Nurburgring, just because it is so challenging and so technical, and it's a very narrow course, so I think it's an accomplishment when you go around it, especially at the speeds that you can go. Unfortunately, as you see in a lot of videos, people ruin their extremely nice cars, so it's kind of nice to just be able to play a game and go around it for right now, because, you know, I've seen people mess up a few $100,000 worth of cars in a matter of seconds, and that would be absolutely horrible, because I've probably wrecked 20 times doing this recording. So I couldn't imagine what it'd be like to have a brand new Ferrari and go around and wreck. I mean, it'd just be heartbreaking, but the reward for going around this track would be amazing. Going down this back straight here, I'm not sure if we'll get over 120. I can't remember, but if you're watching, go take a 10-minute break, go take a nap. It'll be a few minutes before we get to the end of the straight, because this car is horribly slow. Oh my goodness. There we go. Yep. Gonna be a minute. It's ridiculous to think that back in the day when they was going down this straight and Formula One cars with no top and going 150 with suspension back in those days, and just the technology they had back then, that it must be terrifying to do. But that is my hot lap in the Toyota Sprinter. Hope you liked and enjoyed it. So, have a good day. Don't forget to subscribe, and always go fast.